Now, Mildred was a pioneer in many ways. She was one of the first microphone singers. She used new advances in microphone technology to showcase the subtleties of her voice and taught that to other singers in her time. She was also one of the first singers to front a big band on tour and one of the first female singers to have a big influence and a big impact in the music industry.
That's a take.
Great, now remember we have another session with Louis.
Louis Armstrong?
Louis Armstrong, he's great. You know, I have all his recordings. If you ever want to listen to them, you just let me know. I hope he comes to my wingding tonight. You are all invited, and you can bring that vibraphone player too. What's his name again?
Oh, do you mean Red? Red Norvo?
Yes, him. Oh. I just think he's interesting, that's all.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm speaking with Salish composer and singer Russell Wallace from the Lil'wat Nation, who's speaking to us from the Firehall Arts Centre in Vancouver, BC. Mr. Wallace has worked with jazz musicians and performed at a number of festivals. Mr. Wallace, how do you as a Salish composer and singer feel a connection to Mildred?
Klahoya. This is where the documentary portion comes in. Thank you for having me today. I first heard of Mildred a number of years ago. I was reading an article and it listed all of her accomplishments, which were really cool, really interesting, and then it said that she was Salish, and that kind of piqued my curiosity. I'm like, wow, okay, I have to go hear her sing now. And so I tracked down one of her recordings, and when I heard it, I was blown away because her style of singing reminded me of the old way interior Salish elder women would sing, and I was like, wow, this sounds so cool. But it also reminded me of my mom, Flora Wallace, who would sing like Mildred around the house.
Wow, that is incredible. I too can hear Mildred in a lot of our elder women singers. Do you think Mildred was aware of her Salish voice, and do you feel that Mildred's Salish singing style had any effect on contemporary singers?
Great question. Mildred was certainly aware of her Salish voice. She even proposed that all singers learn native styles of singing. As Mildred states, native singing takes a squeaky soprano and straightens out all the clinkers that made it squeak. You know sopranos, you know. It removes the boom from the contralto voice this Indian singing does, because you have to sing a lot of notes to get by, and you've got to cover an awful range. As for influence, certainly she can be heard and has been cited by many singers to be a major influence. In particular, Tony Bennett, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Rosemary Clooney, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday. So you see, Salish music, Salish styles of singing has been a big part of jazz.
Incredible. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks so much for being on this podcast, Mr. Wallace.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I have another call coming in. Hi, Uncle. I'm glad you called back. So, Grandpa was from the same area as Mildred. Did she grow up with the traditions and the old songs?
Oh, yeah. Mildred learned a lot from her mother and knew all the old songs. Not like you young ones these days. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, Mildred did sing some songs with Grandpa one time.
Wow, what songs did they sing?
Oh, I can't remember what songs he said. But she knew quite a few different songs from different Salish nations. She seen that your grandpa had a rattle and asked if he wanted to sing. It was his last night with her and the band, so she sang some songs with him to send him on his way.
Mildred singing some Salish songs. Singing songs that my grandpa knew and probably teaching some new ones too. This must be the rattle that she used. I wonder if they sang the poverty song. I know that song, and my grandpa used to sing it all the time.
Skippy. Kung kwenit gen e hana, kung kwenit gen e hana, dai hook gwen ken e hana, dai hook gwen ken e hana, sakwana e hana, sakwana e hana, kung kwenit gen e hana, kung kwenit gen e hana, dai hook gwen ken e hana, dai hook gwen ken e hana, sakwana e
I'm looking through all these papers, and here is a schedule for performance. Some things are written all over it. It says, Eddie to rearrange opening song, MIldred wants a key change, and then it looks like Mildred's wrote on it, I did it. I wonder who this Eddie is. It says Eddie Sauter was the arranger for the session. I have to call my friend Deanna Gestrin. She knows some jazz stuff. Hey Deanna, welcome to Salish Trailblazers. Today we are looking at the life of Mildred Bailey right now. I came across some notes of a recording session. Can you tell me anything about Eddie Sauter? Because it looks like they work together.
Yeah, of course. Eddie Sauter was a great arranger who worked with some really great bands like Tommy Dorsey, Artie Shaw, Benny Goodman. It makes sense to me that Eddie and Mildred worked together because she worked with the same musicians. I know that Eddie and Mildred had a spat, and Eddie got back at her by making an arrangement that was very challenging for any singer.
Cool. How did the industry work back then? My grandfather worked as a band boy, but what other roles were there?
Well, there were many roles. The band boy was responsible for the band, making sure they had everything, including picking up laundry, getting coffee and such, making sure everything was plugged in. The band leader would pick songs that the manager would hire the arranger. The manager would also hire and fire the musicians as well as look after all the financial stuff. So publishers would come and shop their catalog to the bands, and agents would book shows in clubs and on radio and TV shows. It was actually quite an industry.
It sounds like it. It must have been challenging for Mildred to even make a living back then.
I can't imagine the issues she faced as an Indigenous woman. The industry was misogynistic back then even more than it is now. She would have only been paid to perform. Later in her life, she had health problems, and she would have had no income coming in because she was too ill to perform. There was no insurance back then for musicians. And on top of that, she was a single woman at that point in her life, so no husband or family to support her. She had really strong opinions, and she wasn't afraid to tell musicians or arrangers if they made any mistakes or if they could improve their work. There were a lot of men who did not like taking criticism from a woman. Anyway, I have to run, but I really appreciate you asking me to be on the show.
Thank you. Wow, it must have been a struggle, but it looks like she pushed on still. Got a lot of respect from her peers.
This is going to be hard. I don't know if I can be off score here. What are we going to do?
Let's just do rocking chair again. Millie can't sing this. It'll be too hard for her. Eddie is being a heel. You know that, right?
Yeah, well, we have to do something. No use getting dragged into this fight. We'll do rocking chair again.
Why do we have to do rocking chair again?
Well, because this arrangement is too hard and Eddie's just being a jerk.
You mean this? What's wrong with this? Eddie thinks he's got me. Well, sir, he hasn't.
Well, the chords are really crazy, and there's no support for her in this arrangement.
Honey, we will do this song as Eddie arranged it.